Okay, let's give this another try. Let me know if you can hear me this time. Better? So I'm trying something out tonight. We're gonna try a. I'm trying to run this on OBS, which is like a broadcasting software. So I'm actually like trying to do a legitimate stream here and see if it actually works out. So trying to run it in a little bit different way as well. So hopefully you can see like a little ticker on the bottom, and I'll be able to bring your guys' chats up on the screen as well, like this. So let me know if you can see that, and then I'll be able to, scroll through and let you know what we can actually see on here, and I can maybe respond in real time as we go through. So the ticker doesn't really matter at all. I'm just really playing around with this kind of stuff. So it's interesting to me. Number one, number two, I'm trying to maybe do a little bit different format over the next couple weeks. Actually, not on this channel. I'm thinking of starting a second channel because I have a lot of like political commentary stuff that I would like to do, and so I was just thinking about testing that out and seeing how it goes. I was thinking about calling it like third way politics or something like that, and it would be something like we have Christianity and then we have the Democrat and Republican Party, and I don't really see a clear answer for the problems that we face in the United States between either of those options right now, and it's very frustrating to me. And so I keep thinking about what would it look like for like a grand bargain to happen, all that kind of stuff. And I watch a lot of different political shows. I read a lot of different political content. And I just don't see anybody talking about that, talking about what would a third way look like, what would, where's the middle ground between these two? Because I really don't think that most of the people of our nation are looking to make bad things happen on either side. But I do feel like the politicians are they're not incentivized right now to do what people want. So that's a whole different aside. That doesn't really matter to this conversation, because what I'm more interested in tonight is talking about Hope Center, number one, and then talking about how we can plan to kind of move forward in the future. And so we're working towards that right now. Those of you that don't know what Hope Center is, the last two videos that I posted, the one 2 days ago, was just finally introducing this idea. It's something that we've been working on, well, that I've been thinking about for a couple years since I first heard about it, and that's something we've been working on for the past several months just behind the scenes. And what Hope Center is it'll be a Christian recovery facility, like a full-time recovery facility that would be in our county serving our people. And so it's really exciting. They're seeing recovery rates that are 3 and 4 times the best national averages, and so they're having incredible success, helping people find a relationship with God, and through that finding true recovery from addiction. And man, Lord knows we need that in our county and in our city. And so it's a really exciting development. I posted today, then following up that video, a podcast with Steven, who's a regional director for Hope Center and a former addict himself. And it's really fascinating stuff to listen to. Hopefully you enjoy it as well. But I'd love to hear from you guys. We've talked about this in the past. How else are we going to solve this problem of addiction and overdose deaths? And there's so many families that have been ripped apart because of drug addiction, and so it's a really difficult problem to solve. And of the 4 problems that we've been trying to solve through Kittanning 300, it's the one that's been the most elusive. It's the one that's the most difficult to really get like tangible progress on. And this is really the first piece of progress that I can really say, I think we're onto something here. I think this is something that is going to be really special for Kittanning, for our community, and we're going to make it happen. God's going to make it happen. Over the next few months, we'll be fundraising. I'll give you plenty of updates on what that looks like. In fact, the next video that I do will probably be like the first fundraising update. and then maybe we'll open up a public fundraiser. So those of you that are in position, or those of you that have a heart to give towards something like that to make it happen, we'll have the opportunity to do so. So that'll happen. That'll happen soon. Let's see here. I'm going to pull your comments up so we can see what's going on. Let's see. Can you guys see the comments? I mean, you can see the chat anyway, so it's not, I guess you really need to see it. But I need to see it. Uh-oh, I think I just messed it up. Hang on. I'm still learning. This is all brand new to me. Oh, there we go. All right, hopefully you can see it now. So I got Todd in the house. Everyone can hear me now. That's good. Terry says, I had a great time tonight. Yeah, tonight we hosted the Kittanning community Thanksgiving service. And so we probably had half a dozen or so churches at our church, represented there. It wasn't a huge amount of people, but it was fun nonetheless. So we led worship, and Pastor Jeremy from the Kittanning Free Methodist Church preached. If you guys want to check that out, you can visit Living Water Church's Facebook page, and you'll be able to see that in all of its glory. We finally figured out our live stream with the church, so that's been really good to finally have that up and running in a good way. That's been very difficult for us to figure out, but I think we finally figured it out. Let's see. Todd was first twice. Riley's in the house. Good to have you, Riley. I think Riley was in a video earlier this week too, the same video that was on Hope Center. So hopefully if you were on there, you went and checked out Riley's YouTube channel. She only has one video right now of a TikTok, but she said she's going to post more. But she needs a couple subscribers. She needs incentive. So go follow Riley. Kevin was 7th. And he uses OBS as well. That's awesome. So you're using that to stream. Are you streaming on Twitch, Kevin, or are you using YouTube, or what are you doing? Riley says, I was watching TV earlier and you were an ad. Yes, I did finally start doing ads again. I cut off the ads because during political season, it seems like my ads don't do anything. It's super annoying. And so I got rid of the ads for a little while, but now I'm back to doing it since the politics is over, and they aren't buying up all the ad space. I did that on Facebook as well. I stopped doing ads for a little while because it seems like the way that Facebook and YouTube's algorithms work is that there's only so many ad spots. And so when there's lots of people buying the ads, the prices go up for the bids. And so if you spend $5 like right now, you might get a couple hundred Facebook views every day. When I was spending it during political season, it was completely non-existent. Like $5 did nothing. And so now I started back on it, and it seems like it's being successful again. So thank goodness all that Donald Trump money and all that Democrat super PAC money isn't flooding the system anymore. Swan's in the house. Good to have you as always. You guys, some of you guys are just like so faithful to this channel. I really appreciate it. You guys have no idea. Meatloaf says, very nice black bar. Isn't that cool? It took me a little while to figure that out, but I'm pretty proud of it myself, so thank you for noticing. Todd says, YouTube will intervene. You can't say what you want without getting it torn down. Or taken down. Yeah, so it's pretty interesting, that whole climate right now as well. But I feel like YouTube at least is a little bit more free. I guess that's not fully true. They've shut down a lot of places, especially from the ads perspective. But I'm not really interested in like making a lot of ad revenue off of it. I'm more interested in starting a new conversation. If I could gain a following through it, you can monetize it a million different ways. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not in a position where I need to like make money from it. It's just something that interests me. And whenever I see that there's like a need not being filled, I just have a tendency to really want to fill it. And so same thing. That's how this whole channel started, right? I mean, I didn't see anyone being positive about Kittanning. I didn't see anyone wanting to do anything good to try to transition the city. And so I just took it upon myself to start something. And I really felt called to it as well. I shouldn't take that out of it, because that's definitely a part of it. The other thing is, like, that political scene, it's crowded on both, like, extreme ends of the spectrum, but I don't think anyone's representing people that in the middle, like people that just want common sense solutions to things. And I don't know. I'm hoping it'll work for me. Then again, most people probably are just so extreme on one side, not interested in anything in the middle anymore. So I don't know. We'll see. Kevin said he's going to check out the Hope Center videos. That's awesome. DCB's in the house. Very good. Kevin says, I stream my gaming and raging on Twitch. What is raging? Like, I don't. That's a new term for me. Meatloaf says, your chat is covering up the giraffe in the background. Totally. I'm sorry about that. That is Josephine the giraffe. She's the homeschool mascot. I just learned today from my wife. So everyone say hello to Josephine. Leave a like on this video for Josephine, actually. It would be super helpful. Todd says, do you still have the Kittanning flags? Yes, I do. Sorry, you couldn't see Josephine. I took it off, but I didn't show you. So now you can see Josephine in all of her glory right here. So say hi. Let's see. So I'm supposed to ask Meatloaf, what is the raging? I don't get it. Todd says, do you still have the Kittanning flags? Yes, I do. I have lots of them. So if you want one, you can certainly buy one. They're $40, and all the money goes towards Downtown Kittanning Incorporated. You can have your very own Kittanning flag, and they're super cool. They're pretty big as well. They're nice. So yeah, your guys' thoughts. I mean, what do we do for? We've kind of brainstormed before. Does anyone else have any solutions for how to solve the problem of addiction in Kittanning? I'm like, we have to do something, don't we? Like, we can't just sit back and do nothing and let this continue to happen. And we always talk about, I know Kevin and I have talked in the past, like, how do we solve this? How do we reach out to them? And it's like, the only thing I always come back to is, like, one person at a time. Like, that's the only way. You have to grab people one person at a time. And what's really cool about Hope Center is they get them at their greatest need. They continue to go basically every facet of life, but where they get 90% of their people is actually through the court system. And so we just had a meeting with some people that are pretty high up in those things in Kittanning. I'd tell you names, but I didn't really get permission to tell names. But they would have the power to do this, and they're totally on board with it. They said, we have to. It was something they were already looking to do anyways, and they were like, well, this is just like it's coincidental that you would call right at this time. And of course, we know there's no coincidences. It's a God thing for sure. But they are now on board with this. And so how it would work is if someone got like a possession charge, a drug charge, and they were going to go to jail for it, instead of filling our jails with like petty criminals, they might get a plea deal that says, hey, if you go to Hope Center for the next year, you won't have to go to prison over this. So you can spend your time there instead of spending your time in prison. And then while they're in Hope Center, they'll go through the whole Celebrate Recovery process, which is a Christian-based recovery curriculum, like a Christian 12-step program. They do that in the first 45 days. And so it's like intensive learning the Bible, learning about a relationship with God, going through Celebrate Recovery, and basically just resetting your life. Stephen explained in the podcast, it's like 21 days is what it takes to form a new habit. So they double that. And they say the first 45 days, that's what they're going to do. After that, they'll have a work contract with local employers, and they'll plug that person into their work therapy program. And so they'll actually go to work every day. They'll go to, well, not every day, but for 5 days a week, they'll go to work like normal people do. And they'll have a 40-hour-a-week job that they'll be able to gain some life skills at. And so they'll do that for the next normally 8 or 9 months. After that, they enter the final phase of the program where they still live in the house, they still have the job, but 100% of the income that they're making at that job goes into an escrow account for them. And so they start to get their freedoms back. They get cell phone privileges. They might move into a room that has a TV in it, all these different things. And so then they're actually kind of reintegrating back into society. And so as that happens, they're preparing financially and mentally to enter back into the world. And when they leave Hope Center, they actually leave with a pile of money to be able to do that down payment on their apartment, or to buy their own vehicle, or to do the things that they have to do to like reintegrate into society. And so it's a holistic program, and that's why it's working so well. Meanwhile, the whole time they're actually attending church, which our church would be the host church, at least for the beginning and the foreseeable future. We would be hosting all of these recovering addicts at the church every Sunday. They'd be in our services. They'd be serving on our ministry teams. They'd be cleaning the church throughout the week. They'd be serving just like any other member of the church would. And so they're gaining a church family the entire time as well. And the Hope Centers normally will house between 25 and 30 people. So you can imagine if we were able to affect that many lives throughout the year, it would completely transform Kittanning over the course of, say, even 3 years. Kittanning would look completely different from an addiction recovery front. 5 years, 10 years from now, Kittanning would be completely unrecognizable. You think in a town of 4,000 people, how many people are actually caught in addiction? Let's shoot like crazy high and say that it's 10%. If it's 10% of the people and you're running through 25 to 30 of them a year, the problem will be completely non-existent in very short order. Not just because of Hope Center, but because once people are finding genuine recovery as they're starting a new life, it would completely they would be grabbing their friends before they could even get in trouble and end up in Hope Center. People would be, I think, so excited to know that there really is hope. There really is something else than having to continue to turn to that life in order to try to drown the pain inside of you. And so, it's something that just really I'm so pumped about. I mean, if you can't tell, I'm like slightly passionate about it. So, anyways, let me know if you guys have any thoughts about it. I'm gonna read some comments again. Swan says, "We are faithful because of you, Andy." I just I feel the love genuinely. It's been really difficult making videos over the past few months because I'm normally just always so incredibly open about everything with you guys. And so hiding these projects has been very difficult for me. And it's difficult for me to make any video other than that. And so it felt like a flood of creativity just washed over me as we talking about Hope Center. And you guys already know that I'm planning to buy a building, so that secret's kind of already out. You just don't know which one. And so that secret's going to be fully out pretty soon too. So we'll have that all ready to rock, and we'll be moving forward in every way as we move forward. So it's going to be pretty awesome. Let's see here. Meatloaf's going to send me a video about what raging is. Meatloaf says, "I have zero thoughts ever. I just say things, and sometimes they happen to be true." Well, you'll gain some thoughts as you get older, hopefully. Kevin says, "I need to start caring again personally. Lately, I find empathy for the situation empty." And that just shocks me, honestly, still, because you are one of the most genuine, caring people that I've ever met in my entire life. I still tell people, I use you as an example because I talk about what, and I'm like, pastors should really care for people. And I'm like, pastors should care for people the way that Kevin cares for people. Because I have I heard recently, oh gosh, what's his name? Jordan Peterson. He explained about the difference between people that are like engineers and people that are therapists or whatever. And people with engineering brains tend to care more about things than they care about people. Oh, he used nurses was the other one. And nurses tend to care more about people than they care about things. I have an engineering brain, and so I care way more about things when it comes to like projects and progress and numbers and all those kinds of things. That's where my brain lies. I care more about things than people. And it's like one of my shortcomings. And so when it comes to like being a pastor or caring for people, I have to really work at that. When it comes to like putting together visions for the church and for Kittanning and all that, I don't have to try at that at all. It just comes very naturally. And so, but Kevin was like the antithesis of me. He really loves people. And so hopefully you guys, some of you are like that as well. Whoa, there's like super chats coming in here. You guys are amazing. I'll call you out in just a second here. DCB says, Butler County has really reduced heroin addiction with allowing in dispensaries. So explain more, DCB. I'm interested. Oh, you mean like the marijuana dispensaries. So they're having people kind of an alternate there. Todd says, you can only help someone that wants help. Otherwise, it's just setting the issue up for failure. I agree, Todd. And that's I think that's why Hope Center works so well, is because when people are going to go to prison, they really want help. And so they're catching them at the perfect time. And a lot of times that's when people have hit rock bottom. And the problem with going into prison, and we've seen this with church people in the past, where they might have a situation where they go to prison, they're actually reformed in the prison, and then they're maybe not reformed in the prison, but they get out, they go back, and they start to like get their life together, and then something happens and they fall back. Now, when that happens, that whole court system process can take like a year to 2 years. It's completely insane. And so we had this happen with a guy. He got in trouble. He reformed his life. He was coming to church faithfully, all those kinds of stuff. Then it was 18 months later from the actual event that happened, he got a drug charge, or he got the drug charge in prison finally, and he went to jail. And it like completely hit the reset button on his entire recovery process. He was like back down in the dumps right where he was. And when he came out of prison, it was like starting this whole struggle over again. And so it's no wonder that we have such recidivism rates in this country where, people get out of prison and then end up right back in prison. That's recidivism. And so Hope Center kind of eliminates that whole cycle, because if you can get them in there and they find true recovery, then they're not going to go back to that lifestyle. And they've already paid their sentence to the state because they've gone through the recovery process, and they've been faithful to what they said they would do in the plea bargain. So it's like win, 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 win for society, for the individual, for their family, for the church, for like everybody. It's awesome. Swan says, you're one of the best things that ever happened to the best city in the world, in my opinion. I like to tell people that I'm not the one doing everything. I'm just the one that holds the camera. And so the good people of Kittanning they have a louder voice because of this channel. And so it's really good. DCB says, I agree with Todd. Kevin says, sounds like a great program. Robert's in the house. Good to have you, my man. Todd says, how does the church protect their valuables? And so that's a good question. So when they're there cleaning, the Hope Center actually has 3 full-time employees. So they have a site director. They have a recovery coordinator, who's the one doing a lot of the counseling and all that kind of stuff. And then they have an admissions coordinator. That's the one basically acting as the parole officer. They're the ones working with the court systems, with the district attorney, in order to make those plea bargain deals to get people into the Hope Center. And so between those 3 employees, they have supervision at all times. And not only that, but they have 3 levels of their program. And so the guys and girls that make it to the 3rd level of the program, they actually become house leaders as well. So they become supervisors in training, where they actually will then basically everyone that leads a Hope Center at this point has been in a Hope Center before that. They're all recovered addicts themselves. And so it's like this wonderful cycle instead of a vicious cycle where people are pulling each other down. The Hope Center graduates are pulling each other up, and it's It's amazing. Let's see. So supervision is the answer to your question. Michael Myers with the $10 super chat. You're the man. I'm going to put all the money from the super chat tonight. Well, normally it all goes directly into this channel, but I'm going to make sure it all goes into towards Hope Center. So good stuff, man. And we got $12 because Robert gave another $2, and he says that he's not as rich as Michael, and he's sad. But don't be sad. I appreciate it just as much. I don't appreciate Michael 5 times as much as you. I mean, I appreciate him more because he gave more, but I'm just joking. I love you all the same, whether you super chat or not. Kevin says, so is the program only for people in trouble with the law, or can we invite people to it? Can they just sign up? Yeah, so the first one we're working on, it will be a men's center, but yeah, anyone can sign up for it. There's a one-time admission cost, but I'm sure we could raise money for any individual to get in there. And then after that, part of the work therapy program is that, you know, the company that they're working for is there's money going to Hope Center. That's a lot of how they sustain it as well. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, you can definitely invite people. It's not just for people in trouble with the law. I think it's just more Todd's scenario where you have to catch people when they actually want help, and that's when a lot of people want help. But yeah, anyone can go. That's what's amazing about it. Robert said, Michael, where are you getting this money, man? Thank you, by the way. Robert says, just messing, but how's it been? It's been good, man. It's been real good. It's just an exciting time to be alive. It's a good time to be in Kittanning, and good time to be part of this channel. Kevin says, I still love people, but they always hate me, and it gets tiring. What part of the Hope Center makes it so successful? First off, Kevin, I don't think anyone hates you. Everyone that I know loves you. Everyone. But anyways, so what makes the Hope Center so successful? I think what makes it so successful is the fact that it is Christ-centered. Well, I think that's like number one, okay? So then 1A below all of those things would be, you know, what are the things that hold people back when they get out of prison? Well, they don't have gainful employment. So it's very difficult to get a job after you get out of prison, because who wants to hire someone that has convictions for drug charges? Who wants to hire someone that's been caught in addiction? Well, the beauty of Hope Center is that they'd get to the employer gets to try them out for 9 months, and so they know at the end of 9 months whether they want to keep them or not. And so most of these guys and girls that are coming out of Hope Center, they just keep the same job that they had because they're in there. And now they can change jobs too because they have a good reference from the job prior. So you have that going for them. The second thing beyond that would be Hope Center has 2 15-passenger vans. And so what's one of the big hurdles for people when they get out of jail? Well, they don't have transportation to get to work. And so even if they are lucky enough to find a job, they have to rely on someone to give them a ride there every day, or they have to walk there every day. And then what happens when it snows? And what happens when they can't get the ride? And what happens? Well, then they get fired. And so they have reliable transportation for the entire year. What else don't you have when you get out of jail? You don't have any money. And so when you get out of Hope Center, you have that money in escrow, so you can buy that apartment. You can buy your own car. You can do all these different things that you have to do to set up real life again. And so they've found all of the hurdles for people getting re-entry into society, and they've eliminated all of them. And so there's really no excuse at that point. And then the other thing, not only just relationship with God, but relationship with the church. Why that's so important is that you have some friends to rely on. And so if you do fall on hard times, or if you do need an extra ride, or if your car runs into trouble and you need someone to help you fix it, or whatever it might be, you have someone there to help you. You have a whole new set of friends. So you don't have to go back to the old set of friends that would say, well, let's just shoot up since it's hopeless anyway. You have new friends that are going to say, hey, we're going to get through this together, and we're going to walk side by side with you and make sure that you make it through. And so it's amazing. Love it. Yeah, I think the stream might be behind for me too, Robert. I'm not sure. Bonnie says, hugs to Kevin, ignore the haters. I love it, Bonnie. Appreciate you being here as well. Swan says, nurse versus engineer. That's interesting. Yeah, Jordan Peterson, if you've never watched him, just a brilliant, brilliant man who actually just went through his own struggle with addiction to benzos, painkillers, which is crazy. He's like one of the smartest people I've ever seen in my life, and he got on them for something else, and then when he tried to get off of them, he had a real struggle. He disappeared for like a year. So truly, it can happen to anybody. DCB says, my wife is on medicinal marijuana for her seizures, and it sucks having to go to Butler or further to get it, and to know Armstrong County turned it down for the old Elder spot. I thought they had one, though, in West Kittanning. Did that not happen? I thought it did. Yeah, I know. I didn't know. So they turned it down in Ford City. That's interesting. James is in the house. James, I've been following your struggles with your back. I've been praying for you, man. Let me know when you want to grab lunch. I know we were going to do that a while ago, and we haven't done it yet. So that's probably mostly my fault, but I still want to do it. So if you're still interested, let me know. Todd says, in the Bible, in your opinion, what is the easiest book in the Bible to understand, and what is the hardest book? Wow, that is, that's a hard one, man. The hardest book to understand, I think, for most people is Revelation, because they get lost in all the imagery, and I think it scares a lot of people. So I think Revelation is a difficult one for people. Some of the easiest books to understand probably wouldn't be anything written by Paul. I would say it would be some of the books that are just straight up instruction, where it'd be like, I'm thinking of James, 1st and 2nd Peter, and 1st and 2nd Timothy. There's a lot of stuff in there that's just very straightforward instruction for life, and things that if you just took them and applied them, you would do better. And so I would say those are some simple books. Other books that are simple to understand would be something like Exodus, things that are like historical in nature. So if you read Exodus, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, these are just like history books. And so if you read them, it's just like you're reading a history textbook. And if you just treat it that way, you'll get a lot out of those stories as well. So hopefully that helps. I don't know. I mean, the Gospels are pretty simple and straightforward too. I think we make Jesus a lot more complicated than he was. Not that he doesn't have depth, he certainly did, but Jesus was pretty straightforward in his teaching. And I think a lot of times we try to make it more difficult because we don't want to just take Jesus at his word, because when Jesus talks, it like hits our hearts, and we don't want to have to deal with that. So we try to like make up our own stuff to go with it. But I think if you just take Jesus at his word and the Gospels at their word, they're pretty simple to understand too. But you got to have Holy Spirit to understand the Bible. So I would just encourage you, invite Holy Spirit into your life first, and then say, okay, Holy Spirit, let's read the Bible together. And you'll find that the Bible will just start to leap off the page. Robert said, pretty sure they do have a place in West Kittanning. I thought so. Isn't it by like the pizza place? And it's like in that area, I think. Kitty DeCaren says, just found your channel a little while ago. This sounds like a wonderful program. Hey, thanks for checking it out. And yeah, definitely, if you're not subscribed already, subscribe. There's going to be a lot more stuff coming. Summer's in the house. Man, we got a lot of people here. Sorry, I'm not watching the actual stream. I don't know how many people are here. 18 people. And we made $17. You guys are amazing. How cool. Yeah, if you guys get a chance, put a like on this video as well. Trying to see. Yeah, stream's still going good. Do you guys like this format with the ticker and the thing up on the top? I'm trying to do this, for the other show as well, because I'm thinking if I can just record it all at once, I won't have to do a lot of editing. So I'm thinking of going through different articles, news stories that I find, and kind of giving commentary on that. So the plan is to, go through all of, have it popping up on the screen as I go, so I can, be really interactive with it live. But I won't actually do it live. I'll just record it and then throw my intro and outro on it and then upload. So I don't know. Okay, just a certification center in West Kittanning. Okay, so James is going to give me a call. Good, thank you, sir. Roger's in the house. Todd says, what is your favorite verse? That's tricky. Tricky. I mean, the verse that's been speaking to me the most over the last couple years would be something like Romans 8:28, and I quote it all the time. So it's like God's working to get all things together for the good of those who are called according to his purposes. And so I've really held on to that through, like, when Joey was diagnosed with diabetes, all these kinds of things. It was like God was already preparing me for that. And so even when bad things were happening, I was constantly leaning back on that and looking at, okay, God, how are you going to use this for good? How are you going to turn this for your purposes? And so I've just been able to put my head down, focus on, or I guess put my head up, focus on God, focus on what he wants me to do. And that has really given me so much peace over the past couple of years. So I'd have to say Romans 8:28. But you have all the other, famous scriptures in the Bible. And really, for me, I can't. It's hard to pick out individual scriptures. And I don't even like to do that because I don't like to pull things out of context. But Romans chapter 8, incredible chapter. The Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, 6, and 7, amazing scriptures. John chapter 3, obviously. And then I've been digging into a lot of prophecy in Isaiah. So that whole Isaiah section from like Isaiah chapter 40 to like Isaiah chapter, well, really to the end, but in the mid 50s, like right after the prophecies about Jesus, I've really been enjoying that a lot as well. So tough stuff. Bonnie says split screen works great. Summer says, looking forward to and praying I get to see my family in the spring of 2021. I hope you get to as well. It'd be nice for all of us to be able to travel a little bit. I'm planning a trip to Minnesota next summer too, so we need no COVID by then. Although it's looking pretty good from no matter what perspective you have on the virus and all that stuff. It looks positive right now. You have the vaccines coming out for those of you that are into that, and then you have for the rest of us, it's still good to hear that vaccines are there, because if there's a vaccine available, hopefully we'll all just be able to make personal choices again. And that'll be pretty exciting for those of us that are on the other side. Let's see. Keith says, I have 2 verses that are my most convicting. Now that's an interesting question as well. I like the one in, I think it's 2 Corinthians 12:5, where it says, examine yourself to see if you're in the truth. That one always convicts me, because then it's like you have to really take the inward look at your life and see, am I really living this thing out? And I always question myself at that point, but it's always convicting, and then it's always encouraging, because then it takes you back through your whole relationship with God. What has God been doing in my life? Has he been transforming me? Am I on the right path? And then you can find, yes, I am. Or if you find, no, I'm not, then at least you have the opportunity to repent. And God has that ready and available for you anytime. I got to preach tonight, too. Thank you for the Bible questions. I appreciate that. Kevin says, how do we find the willpower to walk away from bad habits that are so comfortable? Ooh, man. It's tough. I think you got to go back to Todd. You got to want it. I think you got to have God involved. To answer the question, I think you can't rely on willpower. You have to rely on transformation. That's the ultimate cure. That's the only thing that will work for me. If I was just gonna will myself not to drink anymore, or will myself not to look at pornography anymore, I would fail horribly. But I have to rely on the transformative power of God, and then he changed my desires. So I don't want to get drunk anymore. I don't want to look at pornography anymore. I don't want to do any of the bad things that I used to do, because I'm walking into this new future. Now that doesn't mean that I've had victory over everything, because there's still times where you guys ever has anyone played Among Us yet? Like I saw Among Us, I kept seeing the game over and over and over again, and I was like, okay, I got to play this game. I just need to see what it's all about. So I downloaded it on my phone and I played Among Us, and I was like, this is a really good game. Like it's super addictive. And so I started playing it, and then I noticed I was playing it more and more and more, and I was like, I got to get away from this. I got to get away from this. And so even in that, I'm like, okay, I have to like, there's a constant struggle, Kevin. It's not like the switch flipped and now I'm like free from everything. It's not that way at all. But there's this constant tension between the flesh and the spirit, and we have to just continually choose to follow Holy Spirit. And sometimes we got to battle to get there a little bit, but ultimately we can't rely on our own willpower the entire time. It has to be the power of God working in your life. That's the only way you're going to have long-term victory. Todd says, favorite Christmas song. I don't like most Christmas songs, but if I had to pick one, I would choose one of our Living Water originals, which we took a bunch of Christmas songs and mashed them up with like old Christian songs with modern ones. So I really like from Paul Balash. He has a song called For Unto Us, and it's like a newer version of For Unto Us a Child is Born, but it's like a happy, upbeat version. And then I'm kind of a sucker, like if I would choose old school Christmas song, I would choose O Come, Emmanuel. I don't know why. I normally don't like kind of the downcast songs. That song's like all in minors, but I really love O Come, Emmanuel for whatever reason. But so those are probably my two favorites. All right, Robert. Good to have you, man. If you're still here, good night. Todd says, how did you kick pornography? For me, it was more of, that's more of one that God just kind of took away. I mean, you have to, number one, you have to stop. You just can't go there anymore. Delete the sites off your computer. I know it's difficult to forget the web addresses, all that kind of stuff. If you've downloaded anything, get all that off your computer. There are actually apps that you can download where you can pick a partner and you can say, hey, I'm struggling with this. I need you to hold me accountable. And you can have the app send an email to that person anytime you'd visit a site that you shouldn't visit. That's super helpful. The other way that you can do it is just simply having an accountability partner, so that if you have a time when you're struggling, then you have someone that you can talk to. You have someone that you can turn to be open and honest about your struggles, and then you have someone also that you can make confession to. You have to recognize and understand with God that this is something that's wrong, that it's not something that He doesn't desire for your life, and so you have to then turn it over to Him. He's the ultimate one that can stop it, who can save you from it, and who can get you out of that pattern of living. I know it's difficult. I've been there, and so have basically 95% of guys in the world. So you don't have to feel extraordinary shame about it, but you do have to want to be set free from it, and you can do it. And I'm living proof. You can definitely do it. I have to tell you, it's an addiction on the level of any other thing, because it triggers those same parts of your brain, the dopamine hit, the adrenaline rush, all of those different things that happen from drinking alcohol, consuming any kind of drugs, just having sex in general, like all that kind of stuff. It all comes back to that same addictive feeling. Now, God made that part of us to be used for His glory, to be in a husband and wife relationship. And so it's not like a bad or evil part of you. It's just something that the enemy is taking and using for his purposes instead of you using it for God's purposes. So you just gotta start down that road. If you want to talk more in depth, trust me, I'm more than willing to do that. Robert says, I know the web addresses by memory. It's burned into my skull. And I know, man. I still know them. 10 years later, I still know all of them. But ultimately, that desire can go away. It can be defeated. What's super helpful is to get married. Super helpful. So I can't suggest that enough. I can't suggest marriage highly enough. Find yourself a wonderful wife like mine, and that's the best thing you could do for yourself. Let's see. Bonnie says, addiction to pornography is the hidden addiction, unlike drug or alcohol addiction. So true. And there's lots of hidden addictions like that. Like, you think about people that have an addiction to shopping. That can remain hidden for a long time, but ultimately it comes to light when the credit card bill comes due. But pornography addiction, someday you all are going to be married, and when you are married, hopefully you've beaten it by then, because if you haven't, it's going to come out in your marriage eventually, and it's not going to be pretty. Seen that happen way too many times, and I would just, I would suggest to kick that more, take it seriously sooner than later. Todd says, do good for a few weeks, then fall off the wagon. Hey, I get it, man. Hopefully you're having longer and longer times between falling off the wagon, and next time you're struggling, if you need a friend to reach out to, I'm more than happy to do that. I'm more than happy to talk you through it and do whatever I can to be there for you. So just know you're not alone. Kevin says, you can't escape your thoughts all the time, but acknowledging them and knowing they are wrong is a start. Like when you see a woman or something and the brain shuts off. Yeah. Yes. Just being cognizant of it is super helpful. Andrew, appreciate your honesty and humility. Yeah, you're welcome, Kitty to Karen. Glad you're here tonight. Glad you appreciated it. Robert says, okay, I'm going to get married ASAP. Find yourself a nice Christian girl first. Don't rush into it. But yeah, super helpful. Let's see here. Bonnie says, ironically, my ex-husband was addicted to pornography and it destroyed our marriage. That was many years ago, and thank God I met my second husband, and he was the best thing that ever happened to me. See, it's true on both fronts. Meatloaf. Kevin says, that is true about marriage. Thinking about Michelle always helps me stay on the right path. That wasn't quite what I meant, but, anyways. But that is true as well, obviously. I wouldn't want to disappoint my wife in that way. I disappoint her in enough ways, just without all that. I'm sure that would take the disappointment to a whole another level. Let's see here. Todd says, really? Yes, Todd. I will talk you through. I will help in any way that I can. Robert says, I was talking to Brad. It's hard to find a Christian girl, I swear. Well, you got to hang out in church, Robert, to find a Christian girl. Whether it's ours or anywhere else. And if you need we need to start a youth group back up at Living Water, to be perfectly honest with you. So if you're interested in that, maybe we can get that going, and you could invite some girls, and you could be meeting Jesus together, and someday when the time's right, then you can make that happen. Bonnie says, praying to God has been the best thing that I could ever or anyone could ever experience. 100%. Absolutely. You got to cultivate a relationship with God. Without him, this stuff just isn't going to happen. Let's see here. Robert says, crap, I forgot today was Sunday. I've been meaning to come. I need someone to keep me in check, even though that sounds terrible. That's not terrible. We have to get over that whole mindset. It's good to have accountability in your life. You know, you need people to keep you in check. Especially you, Robert. You know, I'm looking at you're like, you don't have, there's not like that. I mean, you have a great uncle. I can say that much at least. And you have some pretty cool cousins. But your family life hasn't been the best. And so you have to, if you don't have anyone in your immediate vicinity to look up to, then you got to connect with other people. And there's no shame in that. Like you have to understand we all need help. I need help and I need accountability. I have to seek that myself. And so it's not anything to feel bad about in any way. Todd says, I'm an old fart. No youth group won't work. Well, we do have a men's group, Todd, that meets on Thursday evenings. If you ever want to make the drive to Kittanning, I know it's a little bit of a haul for you, but if you're able to make it, they would be more than happy to have you, and there's plenty of guys there that you would fit in with very well. So keep that in mind. We would love to have you in that group. I'm not in that group all the time, but it's a good group of guys. Okay, I think we've been on here a whole long time. How long has it been? 51 minutes. Wow. That went like really fast. So anyways, I'm going to jump off here, guys. Super thankful for each one of you. This was a wonderful conversation. We started out talking about addiction and we ended up at a whole different addiction, didn't we? But it was good. It was healthy. These are the conversations that need to happen. We got to be open and honest with each other. We got to be willing to talk about the hard things. These are not things that we have to be embarrassed about. And so we just have to, I don't know. For me, it's like seek discomfort. You gotta do that. Kitty DeCaren says, is there a women's group? There is. There's a wonderful women's group that meets on Wednesday nights at 6:30. And so if you want to get involved with them, they're at Living Water Church. They meet in the fellowship hall, I believe. And at the beginning of the year, there's going to be a women's group that meets in the morning and in the afternoon. And they're doing all kinds of cool stuff. They just recently took a dinner out to Mckean Veterans Center. And so they took a meal out to all the homeless veterans. And that turned out really well from my understanding. They're also working on a care closet. So a closet that'll have things that, say if a house burns down or something like that, we'll have all the things that a family would need in that immediate need. So we'll have a food pantry in there. We'll have clothes available for all ages and sizes. We'll have, furnishings for a house or the basics that they need. And so we're working on putting all that together, and the women's ministry is actually leading it. So yeah, it's real good. They're just getting started on all that stuff too. So if you chose to come and to connect with it, now would be a great time to do that. Bonnie says good night. Todd says it's not a haul for me. Yeah, so come next Thursday, 6:30, Todd. Well, not next Thursday. Next Thursday is Thanksgiving. But 2 Thursdays from now, come on that one. Hey, enjoyed having you, Kitty DeCaren, for sure. If you need more details, you can look me up on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Send me a message on any of those, and I'll be happy to get you more information. Or if you want to see the full church calendar, you can go to mylivingwaterchurch.com and click on, I think it's under events. There should be a calendar there that you can check out and get all the details. Okay, guys. Yeah, Kevin, it was awesome to have you back, man. Let me know what day you're off this week, too. Maybe we can go look at houses. All right, guys. Awesome. Well, I hope to see you all again next week. It's been an absolute blessing being here with you. Hopefully you enjoyed the new format. It's actually going to get better next week. I'm using my old phone right now, and I have this brand new iPhone 12 in my pocket. So we'll have the new camera next week. I'll have the good microphone, and hopefully I'll have figured out this whole streaming thing even a little bit better than I have it right now. But this went pretty smoothly. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with OBS. I like the YouTube setup. This is like a whole different world for me. And so we're going to keep it going. But love every one of you. Appreciate every single one of you. If you have an opportunity and you think this would be a good video for someone to watch, don't be afraid to share it with them. And let's just continue this conversation of openness, of honesty, and of driving forward into a better future, not just for us as individuals, but for this wonderful city that we call the greatest city in the world. God bless you guys. Hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you next Sunday.